good morning, and welcome. My name is Angela Davis, and I'm the 4M Quilter. And it is Saturday morning. I think it is Saturday morning, October 21st, I think. It is about 6 a.m., maybe, 5:30, maybe, somewhere in that area. And I was just enjoying my cup of coffee, and I put a fire on YouTube. I don't have a fireplace, so I do a little fake fireplace on YouTube. If you Google it, you don't get any warmth from it, but it gives you that nice popping sound. And it has just a nice, it adds a nice warm feeling to the room. And I like that. It's nice to listen to in the background. So if you hear that popping in the background, that's what that sound is. Welcome. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you've been watching, thank you. Welcome to another weekly video. I want to talk about my weekly videos. I've been having some issues with uploading. It takes me a very long time to upload, and it could take me as much as 2 to 3 days to upload one video. So I'm in the process of doing some research on how to maybe compress the file before I upload it, that sort of thing. But in order to do that, through my research, I have to have computer access, and I don't have a computer in my home. So I'm maybe getting a computer. Depends on a lot of factors. But we'll see. We'll see. So in the meantime, I like to upload on Sundays, but so far it's been the last few videos I've been posting on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, because by the time I finish the video, it's usually on a Sunday, and then by the time I finish editing it and uploading it, it usually doesn't post till Tuesday or Wednesday. So why don't we just shoot for Tuesday, Wednesday to be my upload days, so that you're aware of when the uploads will happen, when the postings will happen. But I wanted to touch base, and I haven't had my morning coffee with you in a while. So I wanted to just sit and enjoy my coffee with you on my Saturday morning. I don't have to rush out the door. I don't rush out the door. I'm not one of those people that gets up with just enough time to get ready and go to work. I'm one of those people that gets up early, relaxes, enjoys my coffee, you know, that sort of thing. You get the idea. I don't know if you noticed, but the couch is reupholstered. It was what my family calls the grandma couch because it was floral. And I just recently had it recovered about 3 weeks ago, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I picked out this fabric. Tell you the story about this fabric. I don't know where I was, or what I was coming back from. I was on my way home, and I saw a garage sale sign. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me go stop at this garage sale. And I walked into the garage sale, and she had fabric. Not just any fabric, but bolts, big bolts of upholstery fabric and drapery weight fabric. And I'm like, wow. And I knew eventually I was going to be recovering this couch, and eventually I want to recover my chair over there. And I'm looking at this fabric, and, you know, I started talking with the owner, and she said, if you have any questions, let me know. She said, I used to do upholstery, and I don't do upholstery anymore, so I'm selling out my inventory. And she said, if you have any questions, let me know. And I says, well, I am looking to reupholster my fabric. So she was showing me what would be considered good upholstery weight fabric that she had for sale in her garage. So I looked at all the colors, and, you know, of course it's limited. It's what she had left. There were blues and greens. A couple reasons why I picked the maroon. Number one, she had a full bolt that was not cut into. So I knew there would be plenty of fabric to do the couch. That was my biggest concern, because some of the rolls were maybe half rolls, and I wasn't sure there would be enough to do a whole couch. So that was one of my deciding factors. Number two, I wanted a color that I knew I would be happy with moving forward, because once I reupholster it, I'm going to have it a long time before I reupholster it again. And so when I chose this one, she said it's a good weight for upholstery weight fabric. So that was about 2.5 years ago. So fast forward to a month ago, and the gentleman who did it came and actually, first he came to visit and take measurements of the couch. And then he wanted to look at the fabric, because he said a lot of people buy the wrong type of fabric. They buy drapery weight fabric and not upholstery weight fabric. And I said, hold on, you know, I sew and I know the difference. I said, so I showed him the bolt, and he said, yes, that will work. Well, after he got it into a shop and he started working with it, I touched base with him, you know, to see about a time frame of when it would be done. And he told me on the phone, he said, did you realize that you bought what he said in his opinion is automobile upholstery fabric? And I said, no, I didn't realize that. And he said, yeah. He said, that's actually the kind of fabric that they use in automobiles. And I go, then it's very sturdy. He goes, it's very sturdy. And he said, it'll get you about 80,000 miles, which I thought was kind of cute. But it's a very sturdy fabric, which is what I wanted. And it's not smooth. It's not soft. It's a little bit rougher texture, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I love the color. I love the color because this color works with my color scheme. And when he asked me what kind of cushions I wanted, what type of thickness and what type of firmness, I said, I want firm, very firm. He goes, you're sure about that? I said, yes. So I wanted, number one, something that would be sturdy and last me a good long time. And number two, that I didn't want cushions that are going to break down easily, so that, you know, after a few years, you're sinking into the couch. I didn't want that. So as I was telling my mother and my sister, I was excited when I showed them it. You know, I said, I realize it's not ideal because I was limited in what I chose, but I also have to work within my budget. And that entire bolt cost me $15. So I think I really lucked out. I love the color. It's a little rougher than what I like, but I'm okay with it. I think it'll soften up over time. But I love, love, love the color. And, you know, maybe 10 years down the road, if I get tired of it, you know, I'll reupholster it then and maybe spend more money, go to the fabric shop, get something softer, maybe prettier. But I like it. I like it a lot. And I finally found curtains that I liked. I have to fix these. I finally found new curtains that I liked. I actually found these at the thrift store. And I lucked out because I love the pattern. But I lucked out because the backing is lined with a material that blocks out the sun. So it almost, it's like a sun blocking type of material. And because of it, they're heavy. And as soon as we put them up, it was a really warm, sunny day that day. As soon as we put them up, even my daughters commented, because they were here the day I hung them, they said the temperature in the room actually went down a few degrees. And I was so excited about that. I have to fix them. I need to move this panel over a little bit. But I knew when I bought them that they would be cooling in the room, because with this picture window being here, this room gets very warm in the spring and summer on warm days. I love the pattern. The only thing is the top, the way the hooks were, was the old-fashioned gathered top where it had the metal hooks where you use the special rod and the string pulleys to open and close. So what I did was, they were very long. I cut the top off, hemmed them, and then just did loops. And I'll have to show you, you know, when I'm done with this video, what the tops look like. So I'm really pleased. I'm really, really pleased because I love the pattern. I love the weight. I love how it's cooling in the room. Pressing them was not easy. Pressing these it took me probably a good half hour to press each panel, maybe more. And I still don't have all the wrinkles out. I'm not sure how to, I might have to take them to a laundromat to have them pressed or steamed to get a really firmness in it, because you can see along here, there's still wrinkles in it that I could not press out. Now, I just thought of this as I'm talking to you. I have 2 irons, and I switched irons because my other iron is much more powerful, and I burn myself more easily on it than the iron that I'm using now. The iron that I'm using now is perfectly fine for sewing and ironing clothes. But now that I'm talking with you, maybe I should switch out my iron and take these down again and iron them again with my other iron, because my other iron is much more powerful, before I decide to take these to the laundromat and have them professionally steamed. Maybe that's what I'll do. Excuse me, I'm coughing. But anyway, I'm excited. New couch, drapes, very, very excited about it with how it's coming into place. Oh, I also want to share with you my newest. I have a couple books here. You know I am about my vintage books. If you're new to the channel, I love vintage sewing books and quilting books. This one is from 1989, and this is a book by Elizabeth Root, and it's all about Hawaiian quilting. And there's instructions for 20 different blocks. Beautiful, beautiful. The beginning gives you the basics. And then after that, it gives you full-size patterns. Oh, and inside, look at that. The previous owner already had one cut out. Look how beautiful that is. I love when I open up a vintage book and I find a pattern piece. It's so wonderful. I have a tickle in my throat. So just a lovely, lovely book. And the pages are thicker so that you can, like, they have blank pages in between. Or rather, one side is the pattern and then the other side is blank, so that you can cut them straight out from the book, or you can trace them. Let me see what the instructions say. This book contains instructions and full-size patterns for 20 different 18-inch square Hawaiian quilt blocks. All the designs are based on tropical flowers and plants found in the Hawaiian Islands. Cut the pattern out of the book or trace it. And then it talks about the technique of appliquing it to the background block. I don't know that I'll ever make an applique block like this. I'm not an appliquer, but boy, this might inspire me. They are beautiful. So there it is, Hawaiian Quilting by Elizabeth Root. Okay, the other one I found, wow, I was really happy about this one. It's called Quilts and Community, Ohio's Tradition, 19th and 20th Century Quilts, Quilt Makers and Traditions by Ricky Clark, George W. Nepper, and Ellis Ronsheim. And inside there's an inscription, Best wishes to Janet, Ricky Clark. So one of the authors signed it. So how cool is that? 1991, Ohio Quilt Research Project. I looked through this book when I first brought it home. Some of the quilts I recognized from some of my other vintage patterns books. I was really excited when I found this book. Wonderful, wonderful resource. Beautiful, beautiful illustrations. Wonderful book as a reference. Like, look at that one. Just beautiful. This one is called Double Sawtooth, 1843, 87 inches by 72 inches. Let me show you another one. Oh, look at this one. Look at that one. This one is by Anna Emma Felder Young, 1836 to 1859, Adams Township, 84 inches by 84 inches, applique pieced cotton, collection of Ruth Young Campbell. Gorgeous. There's also references to when quilt patterns started to be produced in like the Ladies' Home Journal, Better Homes and Gardens. These are all Ohio quilts. So it talks about westward expansion, basically. Ohio was the beginning of the frontier. You know, we don't think of it like that, but it really was. So it talks about the early immigrants in Ohio. The next section talks about how they did their research. And it talks about the economic times affecting textiles. Just a wonderful, wonderful reference book. Wonderful. Again, Quilts and Community, Ohio's Traditions, Ricky Clark, George W. Knepper, and Elise Ronsheim, 1991. Ohio Quilt Research Project. That's a keeper. That's a keeper. And I got a book on canning. Different canning recipes. Wonderful photos. I don't do a lot of canning anymore. I don't have a lot of time. But I'm hoping this fall to maybe can some applesauce. I've always canned applesauce in the past. I'm hoping to get back to it. So today's video is all about, I'm still using up scraps, but this time I'm doing something that sort of reminds me of that childhood game called Pick Up Sticks. And I don't name my quilts. However, if I had to name this quilt, I would call it Pick Up Sticks. I don't know if that name is copywritten or not. But if I did name my quilt, that's what I would name it. I went into the store with the intention of buying solid black fabric. And so when I went to look for the fabric, you know, I knew I wanted black. That was my intention. However, I kept going to this teal blue. I don't know why. I kept gravitating back toward the teal blue, and I thought about it for a long time because my intention was to buy black. And I ended up walking out with the teal blue, and I bought quite a bit of it. So I'm really happy with the choice. And I decided to use complementary colors, which would be, and I have to research what it's called. It's when 3 colors are equal distance on the color wheel. Complementary are the 2 opposite ones, and I have a color wheel to show you that. So complementary of the teal would be shades of red. So I pulled red scraps and I pulled yellow because yellow is the third one within equal distance from the blue. So the three colors equal distance from the blue would be the blue, the red, and the yellow. And then I also pulled maybe some purples, some pinks, and I only did that to have a little bit of variety and interest. I didn't want the scraps to have just the red, the yellow, the red and the yellow, but I wanted colors that would work well with the teal, and that's why I went to the color wheel. So Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts has a phenomenal video on color theory, and she goes into quite in-depth explanation. I tend to be very basic when it comes to color theory, and I sort of go by how it feels, how it looks to me, and then we can naturally, I think sometimes our minds naturally want to create order and visual interest. So I think our minds tend to lean toward color theory whether we realize it or not. But anyway, I wanted at least one color to be a complementary color, and that would be the red to the teal. And then the yellow, I think it's called triadic, when the three colors are equal distances apart from each other. So the teal is the background, the sticks or strings, scraps, are the reds, variations of red, pinks, and purples, and the yellows. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I started out by cutting the width of my strips, and they're approximately 12 inches in width, and the length is somewhere around 48 inches. And those are going to get trimmed down. And what I'm doing is I'm layering two together. And now what I'm doing is I'm just moving those strips over so that I can make one more cut on that end piece. What I'm doing now is I'm putting the layers, the pieces on top of one another. The far right is going to be on the bottom, and each one will go on top, so that the top piece will be the left side of the strip. And as you can see here, I've layered two more strips, and I'm just going to continue cutting my strips in this manner. I know that my top piece is the far left, so I'm going to take that off and put that onto the left side, and then the next piece will go next to the first piece, and so on and so forth until I get to the bottom, which is the far right, because I stacked them so that when I pulled them off to the left, They would be in order in the way that I cut them. And now I'm going to choose my strips for my first row. And I'm leaving excess on the top and bottom to make it easier when I sew. And then I'll trim them after I sew the background fabric on. And from this point forward, I just continued laying out my rows, laying out my strips, and sewing the strips together. A red orangey. I'm going to go with a purpley purple. And this is a purpley purple. I'm going to go with a yellow now. So I'm at the part of the video where I want to explain some of the process. And I have a bit of a cold. I have a horrible cough that doesn't seem to want to let up. So I'm waiting for my tea kettle to start whistling. So if I get up because you hear the tea kettle, you'll know why. I'm at the point now where I'm taking the wide strips and I'm going to trim them down. This is approximately 11 to 12 inches. I'm going to straighten up this edge right here. And I'm going to straighten up this edge right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make slices in this. They don't have to be even. And I think I'm going to start with 3.5. And then I'm going to do, I think, just going to keep doing 3.5. I think that works. There. I've got 3 slices, and that's okay if this is a different width. And then once I get those on the design wall, I'm going to add red lattice strips. I made my red lattice strips and I attached my lattice strips to the strips on my design wall. And what I did was I did 2 lattice strips with, or rather 1 lattice strip with 2 stick strips on either side. And I did them in pairs like that. And then I looked at them. So this is where I'm at right now, and I love the red. And I'm starting to see something else. Instead of seeing, the idea of pick up sticks, I'm sort of seeing trees. And I'm throwing around the idea of not putting red in between these strips, but maybe putting in a strip of the teal so that you see each individual tree. And I like how some of my strips are not straight. I'm glad for that because I think it lends itself to the design. Because I create as I go, and even though I have an idea in my head in advance, it sort of takes on a life of its own once I start cutting and sewing and putting it all together. And I'm really enjoying this. I'm not sure about this one, if I'm going to actually put it together, or maybe I'll leave it in strips and just put them beside each other like a wall hanging. That would be very cool. And leave the elements a little crooked. I mean, because trees are not straight up and down. So pick up sticks, trees. I really like how I'm ending up with this. that's part of my process when I'm creating. I start with an idea, and as I create, I make decisions along the way according to how the colors are laying out, or how the design is laying out, or what visually looks appealing to me. And that's sort of how I've always done it in working with scrappy quilts. I start with an idea. I may stick with the basic idea, but then as my decision making happens during the process, I may go a little to the left or a little to the right, depending on, you know, what decisions I want to make. I never stay straight the course, but I always have a lot of fun while I'm doing it. So I hear my tea kettle. It's starting to boil. So I know I have a couple minutes here before the tea kettle starts whistling. But thank you for your patience. The video is not done yet. I didn't think it was going to take me 2 videos to finish this quilt, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I have some decisions to make, so I'm going to leave it on the design wall at this point, or rather, yes, at this point, and then think about it during the week, and then finish it up next weekend. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to put it together as a quilt or leave it individually in strips and finish those strips as individual quilts and then hang it as a wall hanging as a grouping. I might do that. I've never done that before. Having a lot of fun with this one as far as the creative process goes. I hope you enjoy it. This is definitely a creative journey for me, because I think that's what I'm leaning toward, is a wall hanging where each individual strip is its own quilt, but when you hang it up, they work together cohesively. I'm leaning toward that. I'm really, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm having a lot of fun with this one. But anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. You know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and I'll see you next time. I'm Angela Davis. I'm the 4M Quilter. Have a great day. Bye. I'm gonna go make my tea.